Yo, what up YouTube, it's Bryce, aka Grand Mole's alter ego, aka Baron Von Swag Swag, aka the trillest duelist ever born, aka Bryce the Snowman. And today, I'm going to be doing a deck profile and analysis on a deck that I built and then played and did well with at a Battle Pack sealed tournament last week. And I want to talk about my thoughts on card choices and why I think I did well, and yeah, basically I think Battle Pack 3 is obviously the most skilled sealed format we've ever seen in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Because it's a completely different format and cards function in ways that they don't function outside of this sealed format, which creates like new gameplay scenarios that players aren't used to, and if you can't adapt quickly, then you fall behind. So it basically comes down to skill in that sense, even though people obviously pull different cards. So yeah, my deck basically focused on attack modification and recursion from the graveyard. And that was my idea, basically, and it worked incredibly well. I'll show you the cards that I ran and tell you what they do, and I'm going to show you the cards I didn't run and why also. I ran 31 cards, actually, so yeah. Mechlord Army of Granel. This card's a 16 beater, and it's a Gale, basically. The turn it's summoned only, though. Basically, it can half the attack of one monster, so you can beat over anything that has less than, like, 32 attack, basically. So that's pretty much everything in this format. X-Saber Airbellum. This is another 1600 monster. It's a tuner, but that's irrelevant. I don't think there are synchros in the set. But anyway, it's like Spirit Reaper. You attack directly, and you rip a card out of their hand. And card advantage is incredibly important in this. And also, with attack modifiers, it can be a little bit bigger. So yeah. 16 is nothing to scoff at, basically. Flame Tiger. This literally is an 18 beater and nothing else. But it does have a secondary effect that if it's in your graveyard, you can add it to your hand instead of drawing a card. And I did resolve that once successfully, and I felt like it was good because like all I really needed was a monster, so then I just took that instead of risking the draw. Rhino Taurus. This card's from D-Rev, if anyone remembers that. The effect is basically if you've destroyed two of your opponent's monsters by battle, this card can attack again during that battle phase. So yeah, I used this once. I used that effect. I didn't actually get it off, but we realized what was going to happen, so we scooped. So this effect put in work. Black Brachios. This is another 18 beater. When it's summoned, you can change a monster on the field to face up defense position. So you can use it to see what stuff is if it's face down, or you can use it to just get over big things, because everything, for the most part, has less defense than attack. Card Guard. This is when we get into the 19 beaters. This thing's 16. It gets a counter that makes it 19, so it can just be 19 if you need that, which is OP in this format. And it can also put a counter on any card on the field, monster or spell or trap, and if that card would be destroyed, you can remove the counter instead. So there was one point I attacked, and they activated Zero Gravity, which changes all battle positions of monsters, and all mine were in attack. So they were all in defense then, and they were going to be destroyed. So I just removed the counter, put it on the other monster, and then basically tanked one more attack than I would have. So OP. And then Kawakimaru Sandman. This thing's the one you tribute it to negate a trap card. It's also 19 beater, so that's OP. And all monsters are the same type in this format. If you didn't know that, I guess it's incredibly important. But yeah, they're all the same type, so you can reveal anything to keep it on the field. And another time Zero Gravity got activated, I was like, fuck that, and I tributed this Sandman, and it put in work. Lion Alligator. This thing's also OP, 1900 broke, and that's really the reason I put it in, but it has a secondary effect that if you control another monster, basically, everything gets piercing, and that won me a duel as well, so OP. Silent Psychic Wizard, another OP 19 beater, but this thing, when it's summoned, you banish a monster from your graveyard, and then when this leaves the field in any way, you special the monster back, so that's really good recursion. And recurring your monsters back is really good in this format. In any format, but yeah, it's really good in this. This thing, Leotar, basically it's 1500, but it gets 500 attack when it battles anything that is not a normal monster. And like, I don't run any normal monsters. Apparently there were some normals running around, but for the most part, this thing's 2000. And then we get into the more like effect-based cards now. Sacred Crane, 1600, nothing to scoff at. But when it's special summoned in any way, you draw a card. So I was like, OP. +1 in certain situations, such as Stygian Street Patrol's effect. This thing's 1600. You guys might know what this does. It's actually relevant. Basically, you banish it from your graveyard, and you can special a monster with 2000 or less attack from your hand. Any monster, because everything's the same type. So you can special Sacred Crane, draw a card, or special whatever you want to. Call of the Mummy, sort of like Stygian in spell form. Pretty much, if you don't control a monster, you can special something from your hand. So you can... There was actually one point I had a set Call of the Mummy as a bluff. I top deck Sacred Crane, activate Call of the Mummy, Sacred Crane's, or special it with Call of the Mummy's effect, and Sacred Crane's effect drew me a card, and that was OP. Pretty much broken, folks. Yeah. So then the monsters that pop, which is also really broken, but I feel like it's not as broken as Recursion or Attack Modification. Maybe more broken than Attack Modification in this format, but recurring monsters back is more broken than popping monsters, because if they can pop it and you can just get it back, then it doesn't matter. But yeah, Fencing Fire Ferret was really a broken card in this format. It's 17, so it can get over like a lot of stuff anyway. And then it when it dies, you can pop a monster and do 500, which is relevant because the weirdest thing about this format is life points definitely do matter. Like, there was like at least like 3 games in the tournament that I played that I was a part of, not counting the other games, obviously, that came down to like a situation where they were in a decent game state, but they lost just because they were out of life points, you know? So yeah, 500 matters, especially when I can get it back and do another 500. Exploder Dragon, this thing gets over literally everything, because you take no battle damage, which is relevant in this format, because life points matter, like I said, and then if it destroys, or if it dies by battle, you destroy the monster. So, broken. I was just getting this back all day with stuff, and then just blowing everything up. Lord Poison, 15 beater, one of the weaker monsters in my deck, but that doesn't really matter because when it's destroyed by battle, you special anything from your graveyard. So you special Exploder Dragon, Fencing Fire Ferret, pop everything, you know what I'm saying. And then Book of Life, starting with King Poison, we're getting into the recursion cards that special from the grave. Book of Life is OP, you remove something from your opponent's grave, and you get to special anything from your grave, so that's pretty good. The one downside, you have to remove a card from your opponent's grave, so it's dead like first turn a lot, and then there are ways people are banishing stuff from their own graveyard, so I found it a little bit hard to activate sometimes, but it's still too broken not to run, obviously. Miracle Fertilizer, this card was okay. You get to special something from your graveyard, so that's broken, but you don't get to normal, so it actually was a serious drawback, but obviously, again, too broken not to run. Pinpoint Guard, even more broken than Miracle Fertilizer, obviously, because this gets back anything level 4 or lower from your grave. When your opponent declares an attack, it doesn't even have to be direct. And then that card can't be destroyed by battle or card effects, so you're going to get to use that card. So you get back either of the cards that pop, Exploder Dragon or the Ferret, and you just pop whatever you need, or you can just get back anything, you know? That's good. Evil Swarm Kidos. This is one of the ones you tribute, and this one pops spell or traps when you tribute it, and since I can get it back in like 4 different ways, that's good. And it's also 1750, so it's pretty good as a standalone just monster. Night Beam, yes, I ripped the Night Beam. Yeah, it just pops face down back row, they can't respond. That's not even that relevant usually, because they usually don't have anything they can chain anyway, but it just destroys back row, makes your plays go off. And then we get into the attack modification. Closed Forest. For every monster you have in your graveyard, Closed Forest gives you 100 attack, basically. So if you have like 2, that's sometimes enough to get over stuff. And it's continuous, so that's really good, because it just keeps giving you the attack to all your monsters. And I didn't see a single MST, I don't even know if it's in the set. But like they have to have like Typhoon or something to get rid of it, so that's really good. Because they can't Night Beam it because it's face up. Rare Metal Morph. This is another card that has a lasting effect. It's pretty good. It gives 500 attack, so it can be activated in the damage step. And it equips to the monster, so it stays there permanently, which is really good. And then you can use this to once negate a spell effect that targets a monster. And I'm pretty sure that can be activated in the same damage step that you're activating Rare Metal Morph. So if you go Rare Metal Morph, and then, because this is a card that modifies attack and defense, it can be used in the damage step. You do that in the damage step, and then they attempt to lance your monster, or like dress your monster, then I'm pretty sure you can negate that with this card's effect, and that's Just an added bonus. Really, it just gives 500 though, and it stays on there. And it's better than actual equip cards because it's hidden. Your opponent doesn't have the information of what your face down card is, which is pretty good. It's pretty relevant as well. Plant Food Chain, this is similar. Gives 500 attack to a monster, and it's an equip card, so that's good. But it's an equip trap card, you know what I'm saying? And then if it's destroyed while it's on the field, equipped to a monster, you get to special something from your grave. There was one time one of my opponents summoned Breaker, popped my face down, I chained it to a monster, so it was then equipped to a monster face up when it was destroyed, and I got a free special, so I was like, brockin'. Unbreakable Spirit, this card is honest, but you have to just control one monster. So there was some times that I was playing into this, I felt a little hard, but there was never a time I thought it was bad, it's honest. Then Mask of Weakness. This is actually the 31st card I added to the deck because it isn't as good as the other battle modification cards, but it makes a monster lose 700 attack, which is kind of a lot. And it's just one-time use, though, is why I don't like it as much, but it's still a good card. And then, yes, I did rip 3 forbidden cards. I got Forbidden Scripture, which that's good just because if you have a monster with more attack and they're counting on like attack modification to get over it, then you can use that to like bring their monster back to normal. And it's also good because it can negate whatever and the damage stuff. Obviously, it's just a good card. Forbidden Dress, broken in this format. And then Forbidden Chalice. This can negate effects and give me 400 attack. I'm sorry, broken. Yeah, so like every card really is broken. The whole format's broken. Someone should probably fix it. Like, you know, Better Call Saul or some shit. I don't even know. But yeah, the last 2 cards in my deck are Herald of Orange Light. Didn't negate any effects, but I only used this like one time. Because paying the cost of 2 monsters in this format is a big deal. You better be negating something good. But obviously that card pretty much stops everything. And then the last trap card, the only traditional trap card I ran was Magical Arm Shield. I actually packed 2 of these, but I only ran 1 because I wasn't sure how good it was going to be. And I was happy with 1. Like, I felt like I had to play into this card to get it to work, because you have to have a monster, your opponent has to have 2, so it's kind of hard. But if you can get this off when they have like 2 monsters that are 18 or 2 that are 19, so basically they're forced to like crash and lose both monsters, then this card's a +1, and that's good. Then the side deck cards I didn't run, basically. Your side deck is everything you don't run in this format. And the cards I didn't run and why. Magical Arm Shield, like I said, I wasn't sure that it would be good, and I'd keep it at 1. Gale Lizard, this card's like a flip effect compulse. It is 1400 attack, which isn't awful, but like I just didn't feel like it was necessary, and I'd still agree with that now. Frontier Wise Man, I could have maybe ran this. Basically, you negate any spell effects that target a warrior monster you control and destroy the card. So, it negates any spell effects that target anything in this format, and I didn't have equip cards like a lot of people did, so a lot of people were getting screwed over by this card themselves, because then you can't use equip cards for yourself. So this was a good side deck card. I didn't ever feel like I needed to side it in, but in theory, if I played someone with a lot of equips, I could just play this and they couldn't use their equip cards, and that'd be really good. So yeah, it was a good side deck card, I guess. Granted, I didn't use it. Magical Undertaker, this is just more graveyard recursion, but I felt like it was too slow and I didn't need it, and you guys are probably like, wow, target 1 level 4 or lower monster in your graveyard and special summon it, that wasn't good enough for you? And it's like, really? Yeah, I didn't need it, straight up. Burst Breath, this card I probably should have ran. This card is broken in this format. I misread the card. What it does, you tribute any monster, and then destroy all face-up monsters on the field whose defense is less than or equal to the attack of the tributed monster. I thought it was destroy all monsters with attack less than the defense, so I was like, that's never going to happen, so I didn't run it, but I probably should have ran that. Blast with the Chain, this is another equip trap card, so that's pretty good, but I didn't run it because I felt like the secondary effect wasn't as good as the other 2, really. This one, if it's destroy ball face up, you get to destroy a card on the field. So that is a good effect still, and if you pack that, it's a good card. Same thing with Bashing Shield. This card gives 1000 attack to a monster, but it's an equip card, so your opponent knows about it, which I don't like. And also, it only works on monsters that were normal summoned. And I felt like I was actually going to be special summoning quite a bit in this deck, which I felt like was true. But either way, if you guys happen to get this card in a sealed format, it's a good card. And then the cards I didn't run, Magician's Unite. This makes one monster 3,000 if you have two, basically. I was like, I don't need that. But like if you're desperate and need to get over something, I understand it. I actually ripped two Miracle's Wakes and didn't run either of them. What this does, it's even more graveyard recursion. You target a monster that's destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard this turn and special summon it. So that probably would have been good with the Fencing Fire Ferret and Exploder Dragon. But like the deck wasn't literally just centered around recurring those. That's 2 cards out of 31. So yeah, I felt like the deck did well. And Air Orca, this card, once per turn you can banish any monster from your hand and target a face-up card your opponent controls and destroy it. And then this card's banished until the next standby phase. So it would have been good removal if I felt like I needed it, but I didn't. And then the last card that I should have, like the last card that was good that I pulled was A Iron. I read this and I was like, this card's so bad. Once per turn you can have this card gain 400 attack and it can't attack. But yeah, then I realized it keeps the attack when I was playing someone who used it. So that's pretty good. Like you summon it turn 1. It's a decent turn 1 play, which there are some decks that kind of wanted to go first in this format. And that was interesting because some decks didn't and some decks did. And yeah. Basically, you summon it and it becomes 2,000. And then if it lives, you can make it 24 and it just keeps going up in theory. And attack modification in any way in this format is good, I believe. But anyway, the cards that weren't good. Banner of Courage. This card, it only gives 200 attack and only on your turn when you're attacking. It's just not good enough. Super Rush Recklessly. You target a beast you control and one monster your opponent controls. Destroy the first target, which is your monster, and if you do, shuffle the other target into the deck. So it's just an inherent -1. It's somewhat decent removal, but I didn't think I needed it. Vylon Ohm, this gets you back an equip card from your graveyard, basically. So that's alright, but I didn't have any equip cards, so yeah. This Madolche thing, I didn't even get why that was in the set. Like, I was like, the last 3 cards were just outright bad, so who cares? Maybe I'm going to get hate for that, for not even reading the effects, but like, I read them when I was at the tournament, so yeah. No need to read bad effects to people. And then my extra deck card was this guy, Illuminite. Takes 3 monsters to make it. I won't focus, but yeah, I never made it because I didn't think it was very good. But it's 24 if I needed it, and it was there. So yeah, that was my deck profile. It took forever to do a deck profile on just 30 cards, but it's pretty in-depth. So yeah, basically, attack modification, I think, and recursion are the best strategies for Battle Pack 3. You want cards that modify your attack, or their attack, like if it drops it down. And then you want cards that will special summon your monsters from the graveyard. Some people were playing with equip cards basically as their main like strategy, like equipping a bunch of cards to one monster, and it was like really primitive and like, but it seemed to be working for some people. So I figure the strategies really are either battle modification via like traps or like via equip cards, and I think this is the superior way to do it. So if you happen to pull well enough that you have the option, I'd say go with the trap cards. Yeah, so thanks for watching, guys, and peace.